Welcome, everybody. D, we got audio?
Yep, thank you very much. I forgot that I'm on push to talk, so thanks for the prompt on that. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another BBC live stream. Tonight's live stream, we are going to be going over some of the things that are happening in Boardwalk, because we have a lot going on here. There's a lot going on, obviously, within COE and Soulbound Studios itself. We've had the map voting, and we covered that intensively and in depth. And we kind of there have been some nice kind of armor releases and things like that, but we haven't really seen any new like that. So we're just going to take advantage of that and kind of roll this into kind of like a kingdom meeting. We do tonight currents have an all-male cast. Our guests here are Malara and Noslim tonight, and I'll be taking over the hosting duties from Kit, who's having she needs to tend to real life, and Mel is down in Austin, Texas, visiting over there. So you'll have to put up with us tonight. So we have going on in Boardwalk, and probably the first thing to look at is to congratulate Noslim. We've had with the new information that came out with the title transfers. We are still waiting on title transfer to actually get him his duchy, but Noslim is going to be our first Protector Duke. And what I will do is I will allow Nos to describe how he sees and perceives that and what his role is. I think he has a map showing kind of how we're going to be working that. And we'll field any questions about it. So, without further ado, here is your new Duke, Duke Noslim.
I just want to say that this has been something that we've been working on, you and ID, for 9 months. And so the original idea behind this was your realization that, due to the Dance of Dynasties, there were going to be a couple, at least one, if not two, duchies that were gifted to Blood Oak. And, in the interest of the kingdom, you wanted to make sure that you had someone that you had confidence in that could, take one of those and manage them, keep it within the duchy. But what I found fascinating about this whole Protectorate idea is that if it was done correctly, it could be an example to the entire community. If an existing duchy had influential counts that were, gathering county after county after county, and they banded together and decided, hey, we want to form our own duchy. Well, this Protectorate model provides a way to do that without disrupting current duchy stability. It allows them to, become a fully titled duke in their own right, but still fly under the same banner of their, starting duchy, and make it bigger and make it stronger. So, we hope that we're successful with this, and we hope that other people follow our example if we are, if we prove to set a worthy example. The map you discussed, let's take a look at that. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. This is a map a lot of you are familiar with. For the Protectorate here is Duchy number 5. And so, depending on whether or not we have another Duke come and claim Duchy number 6, we intend to expand into Duchy number 6. But for the large part, Duchy number 5 and this area of your screen is what you're going to see as the Protectorate. And that if you zoom back out, that whole top right portion of the map is Blood Oak. That's going to be deeply humbled and appreciative of the opportunity to serve as a Blood Oak Duke for the first Protectorate. So it's truly an honor, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. I would like to point out that we've drawn in county lines on that map, and I would like to very, very much make it clear that that those lines are speculative. They're completely speculative, and as such, are completely inaccurate. We've put the county lines in because we're doing we're doing speculative exercises. Who goes where? If these are the county lines, what would not everybody's going to get a coastal county, etc. And so we're sorting that out with our counts within Blood Oak ahead of time. We've made similar maps pretty much for every other duchy within Boardwall that requested them. And they have been sorting out their own things ahead of time, resolving any potential conflicts. What I call a softball map, because it probably has more counties on the coast than there actually are, and we'll be actually in the next few days county selection exercise where it's a little bit more difficult to make the decisions and squeeze people in, because as I say, we'd like to get those kind of like potential conflicts of interest resolved and settlement selection. Does anybody have any questions about the Protectorate, etc.?
Yeah, everybody all at once. They're asking what I'm drinking. It's Coke, and Coke sponsors the stream. They just haven't sent us any money yet. I'm kidding, totally. No, but I'm always drinking Coke, and I don't have anything in this one. This is straight from the source.
Doesn't have any apple juice in it, eh?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. I see. Oh, yeah, they're asking what you're drinking. Then, sorry, it's a little tough for me to look out of this stuff and read the actual stuff that's going on the screen, etc., etc. We
do have this question. So, will the counties within the Bloodthorn Syndicate be restricted to only producing wood, or can those counties diversify their production of resources to allow the counts to sell other types of resources to other counties to help get other revenue? That's the question.
We get to the part of it.
That sounds like a great Syndicate question, but not so much a Protectorate one.
It's a very good question that we will address, because I think it's a very valid and a very on-point question. The thing I want to mention myself about the Protectorate is obviously I'm thrilled to have Noslim as the first protector of the Protectorate, and we've been working together, something like that. And Nos is kind of like he's a retired Marine, retired police officer, and he basically gets things done, and he gets things done in a very direct way. And it's a very nice, different manner of leadership than I have. And my whole point about that is that we don't look necessarily for like-minded people or people that do everything the same way. We want strong leaders. We want people who have different opinions, different ways of going about things. As long as we know how to communicate with each other and resolve any kind of like differences. I mean, we've certainly had differing opinions, but I don't think we've ever had. We might have, maybe I'm not remembering it, but I don't think we've ever had like an argument or a fallout over anything. We've always been able to make points and counterpoints. And this to us, I mention this because it's very, very core and centric to our philosophy here in Boardwall. Somebody who might not like my style of leadership is obviously welcome to settle in any of the other of autonomy, and that includes the Protectorate duchy, and likewise if they if the one that they're in, they're not quite feeling, for want of a better word, as time goes on, they're welcome to hop over and consider any of the other duchies, including ours.
So we did have a question. What does it mean to be? What does it mean that it's a protectorate? In my mind, because it's an additional duchy that's protecting the southern half of the duchy of Blood Oak, the Grand Royal Duchy of Blood Oak. It's all Blood Oak, right? And so the protectorate will plan to be a support duchy for Blood Oak as a whole, and we want to make sure that we're protecting the Grand Royal from threats, internal, external, whatever the case may be. But D has explanation of the term protectorate. Can rattle on about that. But for me, I want, us to focus, and you have to keep in mind that I have a lot of mayors that have upgraded to count that will be placing in the protectorate, and our focus is making sure that we represent the best interests of Blood Oak, and we preserve and we protect them at all costs. So.
Yeah, the protectorates historically, at least in Europe, have been when there's been kind of like an addition to the original lands of a kingdom, and a protect to try and preserve the kind of like at least in this particular example, it wasn't always the case historically, to preserve, protect the people, preserve the culture. Whilst at the same time still being, pledged, for want of a better word, to the initial. It was usually to a king, but in this case, it'll be to the original duchy. We kind of like came up with Protectorate because it's kind of like it's not a bought package for Noslim, even though he's invested considerable money himself into Soulbound Studios, COE, or the game, or donated, whichever way we want to use the semantics on that. And it's more to do with, I guess he has a little less autonomy than the other dukes, because he will kind of like, because of this kind of like special alliance, but at the same time he has free reign in a way to govern and lead in the way that he sees fit. And I think that a lot of people are going to like what he's going to be doing in the Protectorate, and I'm really excited to see what he does with it. And as he'd mentioned earlier, almost like make it a beacon, the poster child for what duchies can be like, and the other included, we can take and look at it, and we can take and look take from it what we like and apply to our own, and kind of like keep other things that we want unique to our own duchies. It's an ever evolving process, is basically what I'm saying. And I think all dukes benefit from all of us looking at all the other duchies, not the Protectorate or the Blood Oak, but that we look at. I hate to name them because I know I'm going to forget one, but whether it's Weristark or Ceruleum or Singraven or Truria or Drayren, etc. They all are going to have kind of like a different flavor and a different way of doing things, and we should kind of like borrow or plagiarize, steal, whatever we want to call it, whatever's working for them that we think will work for us, because we'll all grow and evolve and keep evolving. The moment we become stagnant while other kingdoms are evolving is the moment we start slipping behind.
From day one, and opportunities for me to purchase a duchy, and I could have done that if that was needed, but my didn't want to be outside of Blood Oak. Neither do I. So whether or not this was transferred or purchased or whatever the case may be, our ideas align in such a way that we have always been Blood Oak, and we don't intend to be anything other than Blood Oak, and we're just making Blood Oak bigger and manage more efficiently by doing this. So we're happy as no issues there.
Excellent. So let's see. Are there any other questions? If somebody can see if there are any other Protectorate related questions, and if we don't get to them during the stream, we'll be hopping into our Kingdom Discord chat afterwards. And if we don't get them in the stream, don't be concerned. We can address them in voice chat in the Discord.
We do have a recent announcement in regarding the Protectorate. If we didn't address any questions that you have, I'm confident that document that Dee put together will address to open the original. It looks kind of small in the announcement channel, but if you and it explains quite a bit about what we're doing with the Protectorate.
Yeah, there's FAQs in there and everything. So we can then move on to the Bloodthorn Syndicate is the next item for us to discuss this evening on the table. And Philip is going to, and Melara are going to run a large part of this chat and discussion. They've been very patiently quiet up until now. Thank you, guys. And Philip, why don't you just lead off instead of me kind of like explaining what it is and everything like that, and as usual, monopolizing the conversation. My apologies for that. We'll hand it over to you and let you do the explaining and everything, and then we can field questions after.
Thank you, Dee. Well, so one of the big parts of the Bloodthorn Syndicate is it's Dee's answer to Vornair's entire that is devoted to shipwrights and shipbuilding. So, part of Blood Oak, my group, the Brunel Shipwrights Company, has been a part of Blood Oak. King D approached us a while back. I mean, I think. It was, back before was King D, and still just looking at a big duchy somewhere. But he approached us and wanted to help us build the best ships in Illyria, and devoted to building the best ships and being the first people to reach the lost continents on our server in Illyria. But ships take a lot of resources and a lot of time. And so a little while ago, the idea of the Syndicate, it will counties that their primary export is going to be supplies coming into Brunel Shipwrights and supporting the shipbuilding process. So that's going to be wood, cloth, rope, sails, iron, oars, everything you can think of often has some value in shipbuilding. And so we have this idea of a syndicate where it's a
OBS reconnecting. Well, this is a first.
We seem to be back.
It's up. Got to refresh.
All right. So can people actually hear us right now? And
Yes.
and refresh. Excellent.
Yeah.
Somebody type refresh, and we should be good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the internet, guys. So, we've been doing this for a year, and this is the first time OBS has ever disconnected on me twice in a row. But it is what it is. It's bound to happen. So, yeah, just bear with us. If it drops, it'll come back. Hit refresh, and yeah. And now apparently I have a full head of hair now. It was down so long. What the fuck?
All righty. So basically, for those that might have missed it, to recap what Phil was saying, it's basically, we recognize, and it's a great thing that Vornera are doing up there, and kind of like I think they've got the right idea. They've got a couple of duchies dedicated specifically and solely to kingdom. They've also obviously got with their biomes and everything like that, huge, wonderful, amazing resources of wood, etc. The best wood resources to fuel a shipbuilding industry up there. And we recognize that we wouldn't be able to. It's not so much competing. I mean, definitely they want to be, and I think it's a very good goal to have, to kind of like to be the first, right, to reach the new continents. And we know that if we want to kind of like stay, I don't know whether we call it competitive or whatever the case might be, we have to put in our own effort. And that effort has to be more than just kind of like left to a local settlement or even to a local county level. Where we can dedicate, duchies and duchies to it, but we can at least dedicate, our 18 counties. Malara, take over from here then, because I think that brings us up to date to where we had the cutoff.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, with those 18 counties in the syndicate, the counts that take over those counties, they'll still in-game be the effective counts of it, but they're going to be almost like a charter. They're going to be the protectors of those counties and funnel resources into or through the syndicate into that shipbuilding research and that ship construction. Now, because this isn't an actual job where people are getting paid, real life money, you're investing your time, there will be benefits for those counts where they'll be able to have some of the perks of the counties of being a count, but the main purpose will be funding that shipbuilding research and ship to help us compete and hopefully be the first to discover and settle the new continents in the game. My role will be kind of along the lines of like the steward of those counties. I'll be running the logistics to funnel those resources into that shipbuilding, into that research.
And if anybody's ever played a game with Malara, they know that he will entirely strip mine an entire server of resources, and he's like the resource gathering guru of all MMOs and sandboxes. So whether it be Conan or Citadel, or I mean, entire islands are just barren, wasted, land masses of nothing after this dude goes through it. So
you strip mine one island and you get a reputation, let me tell you.
Exactly. Yeah. So we know you're capable and you can handle that sort of thing. So, good for
Alex, you had a question earlier that somebody had put forward regarding, I think, the growing of wood and everything like that in there. Are you? Can you repeat that question, because this would be a good time to answer.
If you want for that, D. Someone had asked basically if they're going to be required to just grow wood, or do they have other freedoms? There will be some freedoms for those counts to do some of the things that they want to do because they're managing the county, but it's not just going to be wood. There's going to be mining of metal. There's going to be growing of plants to be able to make the canvases. There will be a wide range of things that we're going to need, and some of the things we don't even know yet what they're going to be. So it's going to be, it will be somewhat flexible and agile, because we're going to have to change based on the needs of those shipbuildings. And the first little small ships to just do coastal trade versus like a ship of the line need two completely different sets of resources to make those. So what we'll need, not only will it change, but it'll also evolve over time.
And having such direct communication with those counts and all of will be able to lead the counts into growing the resources and harvesting of the resources that will be needed. And we'll be able to focus with everyone to make sure that we're not completely strip mining and clear cutting everything, that everything we're doing is sustainable. For every tree we cut down, we plant more, everything like that. So
absolutely, because of the nature of the resources in this game, with things being finite and things needing to be replenished for crops and wood, it'll be treated differently than, say, a game like Conan or Citadel, where that'll all be taken into consideration for our long-term strategy and production.
All right. In addition to that, Lion Cross asks, is the Syndicate open to any members or building? Is it more send the raw goods to have them build ships for everyone, or just traders to increase the total number of trade ships and therefore total throughput of materials going into the shipwright?
I think I can feel that. Actually, you're not asking. In fact, we're asking that our paid counts do not choose a county within the syndicate. And the reason for that is again, our paid counts paid for their packages. They have their own ideas of what they want to do with their counties, how they want to have them set up, and again, have their own certain degree of autonomy. How many on beekeeping or wine producing. I mean, I'm sure every county will have enough diversity to basically have everything. With the syndicate counts, we're calling them custodial counts. Basically, these will be people who are not counts. They do not have count packages. We'll basically be taking over those NPC counties and installing them as counts, and they'll probably each have kind of like 2-3 counties to manage. We'll merge them during a set of sim, or as other game mechanics that might not be apparent yet will allow for. Because basically we call them custodial counts because they are custodians of that ground on behalf basically of the crown, and doing not what the count wants them, what the kingdom is wanting. And is wanting will be directed from BSC, from the Brunel Shipwrights Company, to Malara, so that if there's not enough wood being produced or not enough linen or flax being grown to make the canvas for the sails, it would be very difficult, I think, to go to a paid count and say, hey, I know that you're doing this and this, and you've got X amount of land set for breeding trison or ursophants or whatever the case might be, but we know, and you need to now just plant trees, or you need to now just plant flax, etc. And so it's a brilliant opportunity for people who don't have a count package but want to enjoy and experience that side of the game. We have a great group who are going to be the initial custodial counts, and they are in a group within Boardwalk. I don't know how else to phrase it. Goal is to get off the fucking continent as soon as they possibly can. And who better to have manage those counties at the beginning than people who have a direct vested interest to not kind of like skim off the top or run their own schemes, but to actually do everything possible in their power to get everything to the Brunel Shipwrights Company and any other, shipwright that we might be, because I don't think that BSC will be able to consume and devour, all of the resources of 18 entire counties.
We're going to try, though.
You're going to try. Yep, good.
Challenge accepted.
And competition. And when those custodial counts, they'll be bound by a charter, by a contract in game, and buy a charter out of game, and we'll probably be able to go over charters a little bit more in the member. You know, when they say, "Oh, hey, you know, we've developed ocean-going ships, and we're setting by other custodial counts, you know, which will be members of the community that have, you know, proven their trust and their loyalty. You can never 100% root out an adequate solution to the challenge of how does a single king don't have biomes in particular that are kind of like, at least initially, on the initial outlook, is geared as much towards building up a kingdom-sized fleet and navy as North. Does anybody ask about the Syndicate?
So there are some questions in regards to what we're doing as far as planning and tailoring and growing of lumber. So are we planning on tailoring and growing a lumber from the ground up, such as seeding rare lumber into the soil with expert foresters to thin trees, prune them for prime lumber, rare bees for growth stimulation and stuff?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely so. I think Malara, you might be able to answer this one, but we know there are saplings for sale and everything. We don't know how many. You know, we're kind of like dedicating the grasslands to this area because we think it's going to be the best biome to start this. We don't know if there are going to be forests. There might already be natural indigenous forests in the grasslands that we just expand on. But Malara, you take it from here.
I mean, my answer to that is pretty simple. Yes. If Nathan wasn't kidding in terms of playing different games, sandbox, MMOs, anything with me. I need a reason not to do something resource related versus a reason to do something. So I see in the chat that some people are worried the Syndicate is going to affect non-Syndicate counties in terms of economy. You're looking at it as the Syndicate or the shipwright company and the Syndicate their own entity, and they're not going to need anyone else. If the Syndicate is done well, it's almost going to be like the shipwright company trying to drink from a fire hose. Everything is there are going to be a surplus resources available for sale outside, and because of the nature of the way that things are going to fluctuate based on needs and evolution of construction, where there will be shortfalls where we will be buying from other people, and it'll change just like a real world economy. So it's kind of think of it along the lines of almost like the defense industry in the U.S. economy. Just because a company isn't the recipient of one of those defense contracts doesn't mean that other companies don't filter in and fill needs surrounding that. It's going to be the same thing with these counts. Just because a paid count isn't necessarily part of the Syndicate, it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be things where the economy will allow them to set those needs. And as part of those needs inside the Syndicate will be planting of certain types of lumber or crops, or you mentioned earlier breeding of tricyn. Things will change and fluctuate to where we'll also take advantage of economically of counties outside of the Syndicate. So this is going to be more of a symbiotic relationship versus a we're doing this and no one else is allowed to participate type of thing.
You're going to build a big wall up around the Syndicate. Nobody else can come in or out, right?
Yeah.
No, I know that.
I'm going to build a wall and the Protectorate will pay for it.
Exactly, because we've already talked about that, and we plan to pay for it by putting our guys to work as soon as we can to support your efforts. Some of the Brunel guys have been, and what we're doing in the Protectorate, we're building what we're calling PCOs, Protectorate Civic Organizations, and those are going to be Dutchy-funded organizations, Dutchy-sponsored organizations that focus specifically on certain areas of gameplay, such as suppliers. And so we want our suppliers to make sure if you guys call us for anything that you have shortages of, we have a way to support you. And so I know for a fact that it's not just an inward, initiative that you guys are, you guys are going to be able to work with the entire rest of the kingdom, and I think the entire kingdom is going to benefit from what you're doing.
And if I can also just re-interject, because I see that there's still some stuff or talk about it in chat, saying that quoting here, I would say just say it'll make it difficult competition, not that it's closed market, but merely a market an outside force can't compete in. I would have to disagree with that, because you're talking about a economy, not a complete capitalistic or not a complete command economy. The resources that will be grown by the syndicate are basically going to the shipwright construction. Resources that are built or that are generated outside of it in an actual economy will be bought by can also be bought by non-syndicate stuff. We're not talking about shutting people out. This is just a streamlined process. There's still going to be, with 16,000 players in our community, there's still going to be for you to sell your stuff too. This is not going to be shutting anyone out by any means. I actually think it's going to create additional opportunities for people.
Yeah, I think probably the best way to equate it would be, maybe the British naval enterprises, kind of like in the 15, 16, 1700s. There were definitely, what were known as kind of like, the royal forests and everything like that. And a lot of them were used to supply the oak and the materials necessary for the royal shipyards. But the royal shipyards, line and everything, there were so many shipyards all around the British Isles. And not only did they not shut out people from participating, they actually, because there were so many other shipyards around the British Isles that actually even the royal forests and everything were supplying, it actually helped promote growth of those individual settlements, because they start, every port basically can become its own shipyard, right? And we're going to be sending those resources or selling them at preferred prices, whatever it is we decide to do, to those that are the most deserving. It's not, oh wow, there are 18 counties and they're all being funneled to the Brunel Shipwright Company. As I said, there's a good, healthy competition to be. Everybody's kind of like advancing and researching and developing at kind of like, at the fastest possible rate. And that in turn spawns off, as I say, the micro economies. Had sailors and its subsequent and tanners and blacksmiths and everything that grew up around this. I mean, again, probably Google the British. Good idea of how that economical kind of like ecosystem kind of like worked and flourished. We're not
Also,
going to be.
I was going to say, also with that, the idea of competition and everything, just want to stress, Brunel Shipwrights want to lead the way, but we don't want to monopolize it. If there are other people wanting to do shipbuilding and shipwrights, and there are other building being built up and all that, the Brunel Shipwrights want to support ideas back and forth and development as much as possible. Like I said, we want to lead the way, but there's no that's not us wanting to monopolize that either.
Is the same way that I'm sponsoring those PCOs that I'm. He has taken an interest in Brunel very early on. He sees the value in what you guys are trying to accomplish, and he wants to do and support that. So I promise you, no matter how you guys say you're going to do this, someone's going to have an issue with it. But what I've heard so far, you guys got your shit together, and I like what I'm hearing, and I'm just happy to help in any way I can. It sounds like you're going to have it all taken care of, but if there's anything I can do, let me know.
Alrighty, so I think we're already at the 45-minute mark. I don't want to get too much into the middle. We won't be able to cover it in depth. It's good that we've been able to spend so much time on the Protectorate and the Syndicate. But what I would do, Noz, is I would ask of the members' handbook there, if you can show them kind of like almost like as a teaser. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap the live stream up in a few minutes here. And in fact, if you can copy paste the link to the members handbook, if somebody can do that, and copy paste it into the chat so that people can see it directly. This is another shelf. I hope to make the actual bookshelf itself go live hopefully later this week. And we're actually working on I'm working on putting a tutorial together where our own members will be able to, at no cost to them, be able to create their own amazing flip books and kind of like, add them to the library and help. This is just another part of our community and kind of like a reflection of how we don't necessarily do things differently, much than any other community out there. We just like to think that we do it with a lot of passion and a lot of kind of like, thought and dedication and commitment to our community. Kind of projects reflect that, not just in words, but in actual deeds and actions. So are those being shown?
Yep.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and do this. Does anybody have anything to say before I kind of like, close our stream down and we move on over to our Discord?
Those page sounds sound really good.
Especially when you're trying to do it clicking on the Twitch stream, not the actual page.
Excellent. So I think we're about wrapped up, right? I think my audio cut out for a little while there. Hello?
Yeah. How many slides is this, D? It's 40 slides. Man, that's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it took a lot to put together, and so what we'll do is we'll transition over to our Boardwalk Kingdom Discord. Again, if somebody can put have it. I want to thank our guests of Philip and Milan. Thank you to you guys who are watching, and for you guys. So thank you all, and we'll see you in our Kingdom Discord. Cheers, everybody.
Oh, someone said don't forget the question. The winner question.
Oh, it was the winner question.
Not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm just posting a question.
Head and pick the winner question.
All right, so I am going to pick. I'm going to butcher this. Darius Kumar. Oh goodness. And the winning question was: are you planning on tailoring the growing of lumber from the ground up as seeding lumber into rare soil with expert foresters? Then the trees. If that was your question, go ahead and message D for your winning.
Yep, buddy. Congratulations. Discord, and probably a little either later tonight or tomorrow morning, and we'll get. I think I'm out of village accounts left that I can have villager tokens on, but you can have, anything, up to the tune of, I think we might still have some guild tokens available for sale. I'd have to check that on the account and see, and we will get that prize into your hands, mate. And see you all in our Kingdom Discord.
All right,
And
everyone.
to answer that question, yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone.